Hello, everyone, and thank you so much for tuning in. I am your host, Dr. Joretta Carey, welcoming you all aboard as we go full steam ahead. Today, we get to talk about the sweet stuff, the stuff that makes the faces of children and adults light up. My guest today is actually a fairy. She can be found on any given day, creating masterful delights that are sure to tantalize your taste buds. She has a background in architecture and somehow stumbled into baking by accident, or so she says, because one taste or look of her masterful delights will surely let you know that this is her calling. As the owner of Treat Me Sweet Bahamas, she shares her lovely gift with the world, creating delicious and creative custom cakes, gourmet desserts, and also teaching cake decorating. Welcome, Mrs. Crystal Flowers.
Hello.
Hey, Chrissy, how are you?
I am great. How are you?
Wonderful.
Awesome.
So, Crystal and I go way back. In fact, we shared the same homeroom from 7th grade all the way to 12th grade. And so I'm no stranger to her artistic ability. All of that was preparing her for what she does now. I think so. So, Crystal, you have a pretty interesting background. Tell us more about how you arrived at being a cake fairy.
Okay. I actually have my degree in architectural design and landscape design. So I've always been a pretty creative person. I also enjoyed baking when I was younger, but I never thought to combine the two. That happened by accident when I graduated, came back home, spent all that money on that degree, only for the economy to shift almost immediately. And out of necessity, I had to do something because nobody needed architectural drawings that much because of the economy. And I had just kind of started baking again, and people liked what I made, and it turned into a business. And here we are. Here we are. I think that was in '07 that I started. I moved home in I got back home in '06. In
Mhm.
'07, everything shifted. So I started my business and literally fell in love with it. I don't think I could have asked for two better options to merge because building a house or a building is kind of similar to building a cake. You have to have a proper foundation, you have to have it structurally sound. So it worked out well for me. God knew what he was doing.
I can totally attest to that. And you spoke about loving it. You can literally taste the love in these cakes.
Oh,
You know, I
yeah, that.
Yes, I had the delight of Crystal actually creating my wedding cake. And of course, that is one of the most important cakes that you can think about. So you're not going to just leave that responsibility to anybody. And she is just awesome, totally awesome at what she does. There was layers of chocolate, pina colada, nice rich vanilla. I mean, the coconut and guava. Imagine we couldn't even keep up the tradition of saving the top layer for the first anniversary. Like, you will not even have the willpower to stash her treats away, how good they are. And so tell us about some of your favorite projects over the years.
Absolutely. Okay. Actually, your wedding cake would be one of my favorites because it was so different from any traditional cake. We went with really bright, saturated colors, a lot of texture and variation with the design, and that's my favorite thing to do. Is and those are my favorite things: texture and bright colors. So that was a match made in heaven. That literally, and I'm not just saying this because it's not true. That literally was one of the first cakes that I did that I looked at and I was like, wow, I really, really like this. So that was one. And then a few others would be I did a camera cake. I like doing
Wow.
3D cakes. I'm not so much a fan of um, simple cakes, although they can be beautiful. I like when I get to stretch creatively and I have to kind of work my brain to figure out how to structurally build a thing. That's where the architecture comes back in. That's just the way my brain works. I like building things and I love working with my hands. So that one, and I like realistic 3D cakes. I did a salad cake once for my father's birthday because he likes the garden, and it literally looks like a bowl of salad.
Yeah.
And I love doing stuff like that to where you have to look at it like, is that a cake? I love that. I love that reaction. That's what I'm going for. That look on your face and that surprise and that moment that you get to capture that memory.
Yes. Lovely. And once you get to experience these cakes, that's what I call it. It's really an experience. It's not just uh, something to eat, but it's
Hmm.
something to experience. Because I can also recall when you did the pinata cake,
Oh
and
yeah.
I was actually very close to the cake for maybe a half hour before I realized that it was actually not a pinata and a cake, So you're
Yeah.
really good at what you do, or your
Mission
hands are,
accomplished.
are, are pretty blessed for sure.
Oh, I
But
agree.
but tell me, what can the average person do to take their homemade cakes to the next level?
Oh, good. Yeah. Now, there's nothing wrong with a homemade cake. They are made with love and they are usually extremely delicious. So, some of the things you can do to kind of upgrade it a little bit, maybe switch out your flavoring, get a little bit fancy with that. They have so many different options, or you can add maybe like a fruit filling. So, that when you cut into the cake, you also get that pretty visual, sorry, pretty yeah, pretty visual when you cut it, as well as it enhances the flavor. Like berries tend to add quite a pop of taste and color. For the outside, one of the easiest ways to upgrade the look of the cake is a cake comb. Those have been around from the dawn of time, but they have also seen a glow up and they come in so many different shapes so that once you use them on the cake, it transforms it. Like one of my favorites right now is the striped cake home, where once you scrape it and you add in different colors, it
Hmm.
makes it almost look like you have bands of ribbon around the cake.
Wow.
So yeah, and it's the simplest thing to do. Anybody can do it. Anybody can do it. They're relatively expensive. You can go on Amazon. There are some local stores that carry a few of them. I think like All in One, Mulligan, possibly Atlantic Paper and
Okay.
home fabric. So
Yeah.
yeah, you can find them locally. Push come to shove, you can make them. I'll probably send send along a little. Once I do one, I can send you a link for that. But yeah, there's so many ways to get that look. There's also if you can't get to those right away, and you have a urgent fancy dinner, grab you a spoon. There are like three techniques I can think of off the top of my head that are so simple and all you need is a spoon and your frosting. You can create
Wow.
that rustic swirl around the cake,
Mm-hmm.
or there's like a pedal effect where you just pipe on a dot of frosting, press the back of the spoon into it and smear a little bit, and you continue that around the cake and it'll give you a pedal effect. Or you can just kind of wave the back of the spoon through the frosting, so you get that nice, rich but rustic look. And if all else fails, grab you some chocolate and drizzle it along the sides. That
Yes,
always makes
chocolate
the
makes
cake look,
everything better, right?
yes, it does. And it makes the cake look delectable. Like, ooh, I can't wait to sink into that. So those are some simple ideas. Also, you can get a custom cake topper.
That I was
So
just
may
about to
not get a
ask you
custom
about
cake,
that. Uh-huh.
but you can customize and have pretty much anything to to go along with your theme to add to the
Right.
top of the cake. Hmm.
Okay. Is that a service that you provide, like custom cake toppers, that
Yes,
sort of
it
thing?
is. Yes,
Okay.
yes, I do. I do those. Just need a few days lead time. almost any idea you can come up with, it can be turned into a topic.
Awesome. Earlier, you said that you invested so much into becoming formally trained as an architecture, earning your degree and what's not. And then, of course, your love for baking led you into being a cake fairy.
Mhm.
What advice would you give about pivoting your skills and talent?
Ooh, if there was ever something people need to do to know how to do in the year 2020, it is how to pivot. Thankfully,
Okay.
I got to learn this lesson without a pandemic, but it's critical now, I think. What I would say is look for problems. What problems that people have you can solve. For me, because I could not draw buildings or help to create those, I channeled that creativity into building things and into teaching persons how to do the same. Another example of that could be maybe like a cook. So if you are used to, or restaurants where you're used to cooking and serving your food directly to your clients, I know there's several chefs down here who have decided to create like meal kits. So I may not be able to serve you directly, or you may not be able to come to my establishment, but you can still take the taste of my food, the atmosphere, the love and the spirit that I put into it, and have that in your home on your own terms. So you have to be able to translate your skills, and most skills can be translated into multiple uses. You just have to, like I said, be looking for problems. That's probably not advice anybody would think to give somebody, but that is how you create opportunities. You have to solve problems.
Yes, I totally agree. And I'm sure that all of us here in 2020 can definitely attest to the
Yes,
fact that pivoting is key.
it
So,
absolutely is.
yes.
Yeah, and like for myself, when I wasn't able to, because of the restrictions, provide like full out cakes, etc., for my clients, I offered kits as well. So like I had a baking kit, like a cupcake kit, where you could get the bat. You could either get the one where you bake it yourself. You got the batter, you got the cupcake liners, the pan, the frosting. So you had a whole DIY experience all to
Right.
yourself, or I baked it all for you, and you just had the toppings and stuff, and you can go wild. And I do that with cakes, cookies, cupcakes, so that you still get to go ahead and have your celebration, but the way it happens just had to be a little bit different.
All right.
Mhm.
I like it. So tell me, how can somebody still have a good celebration at a time like this? Because, well, coronavirus has been around for a while now and people are adjusting, but it really shouldn't be an excuse for still not celebrating the special moments. There's still your anniversary, you only turn 10 or sweet 16 once. So, what are some suggestions about how we can still have a sweet celebration in the midst of everything that's going on?
Yes, I would say because of what has happened this year, it is imperative that you find ways to celebrate each moment because the next moment isn't promised. If anything can change at any moment, the world is haywire. So those things kind of actually anchor you. That's
Hmm.
one of the things that kind of reminds you that things can sort of still be normal. So I encourage everybody in whichever capacity you can, yes, still celebrate. What you can do, well, what you have to do right now is kind of shrink down the maybe the guest list,
Right.
but the trade-off for that is the budget that you would have spent on so many guests can now be transferred into upgrading maybe some of the features of your event. So maybe if it's a wedding and you really love flowers, you can go a little bit more out all out on that, or maybe you can upgrade your dress to the one that you really, really loved because now you don't have to spend as much money feeding folks. which is kind of the most expensive part of a wedding celebration. Um, Also, you have to be a bit flexible in your mindset and creative. I actually saw, I don't know if you guys have ever been to an escape room experience.
Yeah.
There's a company somewhere in the States, I want to say Tennessee, but I could be wrong. They have a physical location where it's set up, you go in, do all of the things, escape. But because you weren't allowed to congregate anymore, they made it completely virtual. It's not just where, oh, I click on the screen. They have somebody that stands in the room, like one of their employees, with a GoPro on. So it's like you're in the room and you direct the person, hey, look left, look right, pick this thing up, look under this, punch in this code. So it's very interactive physically. Plus, they have a digital version of the room on the screen, and that looked like the most fun thing in the world. I can't wait to be able to do that with some friends and family. So that's a way to do it. You can take an online, maybe cooking class, baking class, and do
Yeah.
that. Or there was somebody I saw that did like a cocktail experience. So you would they sold kits. So that was the way they pivoted. They sold a kit with all of the ingredients, sent it out, and you and several of your friends across the world. They did it, I think, via Zoom or maybe possibly something like StreamYard. And there was an instructor taught you how to make the cocktails, and so you and your friends, wherever they happen to be in the world, were able to feel like you were celebrating together and have a shared activity. And I thought that was so nice. So you have to just kind of think outside of the box a bit and be very flexible in your mind with what you wanted to have happen and how that had to change, although it was through no fault of your own. If you can kind of let that go a little bit and realize, okay, there's a way to enjoy this, even if it's not the way I wanted to, I think you can have a better experience.
Awesome. And I definitely would suggest upgrading the treats.
Yes,
For sure. You don't need a reason to indulge in the, just
I
the
agree. I
just
mean,
the add to
anything
that
to make you
someday.
feel good right about
Hmm.
now. Now, don't
Yes.
overindulge, but indulge.
Yeah. So, Crystal, what would you say is your most accomplished moment in business so far?
Ooh, okay. So far, the two things I think that stand out in my mind the most is a dessert I created was actually a featured dessert at Pollo Tropical down
Hmm.
here for a bit, and I think that was quite a proud moment for that to happen. And I've won several grants based on that same dessert to be able to expand my business. And the proud thing, aside from winning, because that's always good, was that it was a boost in confidence because believe it or not, I'm not so much a fan of public speaking. However, I had to be able to step outside of that fear and do what it takes to pursue my dreams. So being able to confidently do that now is something several years ago I would have told you, no, that'll never happen. So yeah, that's one of the proud moments.
Wow, and you definitely should be proud because I wanted to ask you, have you ever received any formal instruction in baking and cake decorating?
Nope. I mean, unless you count that expensive degree in architecture. No, I have
Wow.
not. It has been YouTube University, which is amazing, and I've purchased several classes to assist with whatever skill or technique I wanted to learn at the time. But a lot of it is really just trial and error and consistency and being persistent. You have to kind of be stubborn because there is a learning curve, but I feel like anything in it that you put your hand to, if you have enough passion and you're persistent, you'll figure it out.
Awesome. Yeah, I want to ask you a question on something I find quite interesting and also amusing,
Hmm.
that there is actually a correct way to slice a cake. You would think, how hard can it be? So tell us some more about that.
Yes, there's definitely a correct way, and if you've ever seen somebody hack up a cake, you would be like, "Oh my God, it has to be a better way than this." Um, for me personally, my cakes tend to be on the taller side. I think the average height of a cake is about 4 inches. Mine tend to be closer to six. So when you're slicing that, if you're not quite familiar with how that's done, it can be you're going to end up with wobbles and all kinds of stuff going on. But instead of the traditional wedge shaped slices, what you would do is slice straight across the cake. You want to go in probably about 2 inch increments. So from the edge of the cake, go in about 2 inches. Use a sharp, non serrated knife. You want that, and you want like a cloth or tissue to be able to wipe the blade between each slice. But you want to slice through to the bottom, and then you're going to take that piece off. Then you're going to use either a plate or a cake board or some flat surface, maybe a cutting board. Put that up against the edge that you cut. Cut a second slice, another 2 inches in, and lean that onto the cake board. So that way you don't have the cake kind of wobbling, and then the piece that's flat on the plate. You can slice that into portions and serve that up. The traditional or the industry standard slice of cake is about 2 inches wide, 1 inch thick, and whatever the height of the cake is. So if it's a standard size is 4 inches, for mine it would be 6 inches, and that is generally what they call a serving, one serving of cake. I probably equated to about if you ate maybe two cupcakes, 2.5 cupcakes, something like that.
Hmm.
So it
Okay.
doesn't necessarily look as if it's a lot of cake because of the way it's sliced and because we're so used to the wedges. But when you eat it, it is actually a fair size slice of
Awesome. Well, when I get my cakes from Treat Me Sweet Bahamas, all of those guidelines go out of the window.
cake. Hey, that's your cake. You can do whatever you want.
So, how can people find you on social media or get in contact with you for your delicious dessert?
Yes, they can reach me at Treat Me Sweet Bahamas on Facebook and on Instagram. My website is treatmesweet242.com, or they can call or WhatsApp at 812-5522. So you'll get me one of those ways. So yeah, if you wanted to kind of
Awesome.
see the type of work that I do, there's galleries on Instagram and on Facebook. You can kind of go through and get some eye candy going.
Yes. Great. I love the information that you brought to the show today. So, at the very least, now you know how to serve those cakes in the right portion. And of course, there's so much other nice tips like the homemade, like amping up your homemade treats and what's not. So, wonderful, wonderful information. So, Miss Flowers, do you have any final words for us today?
Once again, I would encourage everybody to celebrate and find the joy, whatever joy you can squeeze out of a day. Go ahead and do that. For every accomplishment, find a way to commemorate it. It may not always be with cake, or with candy, but find a way to commemorate that and find ways to celebrate every day. If you like the sunrise or the sunset, that's a celebration when you get to enjoy that every day. Or taking time to kind of sit in the moment and enjoy maybe that cup of coffee in the morning or your favorite meal, watching your kids play, uh, maybe having a Netflix session, rewatching some old show that brought you a lot of joy. For me, it would be Martin, although it's not on Netflix, but something to make you laugh and just kind of take you away from the madness and the chaos that is going on in the world right now. But find ways to celebrate. Like that's kind of my tagline. Tagline. How can I help you celebrate? It may not always be with cake. So sometimes people will call just for advice, and I am very happy and always willing to share information, no matter who you are, whether it's a paid thing or not. My job, I feel, is to help people celebrate. That's what I That's what I would call my calling. I'm here to help you celebrate and to treasure every moment that you possibly can. So celebrate. There is always something. There is always something to be grateful for and to celebrate. So continue to do that.
Awesome. I love it. So thank you once again, Mrs. Crystal Flowers, head cake fairy at Treat Me Sweet Bahamas.
Yeah.
Be sure to follow RBNTV Studios on Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube. Like, share, subscribe, and turn on your notification bell to be sure not to miss any of our shows. Julia Child said, "A party without cake is really just a meeting. So celebrate sweetly as you move full steam ahead."
You're watching RBNTV. We are networking, promoting, we're scoring points for you, proclaiming, declaring, here to encourage you. No matter the problem, we will enlighten you. We hear you, please listen, there is a point of